the Anglo-Saxons forged the foundation of Western civilization. Their epic migrations and conquests shaped the destiny of Europe. As we embark on this ancient journey, the whispers of their legacy still echo through the ages. In the misty veil of the 5th century, as the Roman Empire's grip on Britain began to falter, a new era dawned on the island. The once mighty legions, which had held sway over the province for nearly 4 centuries, were withdrawing their forces to confront the pressing threats along the continental borders. This strategic retreat created a power vacuum, allowing the native Celtic-speaking populations to reassert their dominance in certain regions. The Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, a collection of annals compiled by Anglo-Saxon scholars in the 9th century, provides valuable insights into this pivotal period. Although the Chronicle's accounts are not always contemporaneous with the events they describe, they offer a unique window into the world of the Anglo-Saxons. According to these records, it was during the reign of the Roman Emperor Honorius, around 410 CE, that the first waves of Germanic migrants began to make their way to Britain's shores. These early settlers were likely composed of various tribes, including the Angles, Saxons, and Jutes, each with their distinct culture and traditions. Archaeological evidence from sites such as Fædersenverde in northern Germany and Mida Mose in Denmark suggests that these communities were already familiar with seafaring and trade. The discovery of artifacts like the Nidum boat, a remarkably well-preserved vessel from the 4th century, testifies to their advanced boat-building skills and maritime capabilities. As the Roman naval presence in the North Sea waned, these Germanic tribes saw an opportunity to expand their territories and establish new settlements. The initial migrations were likely small-scale and consisted of family groups or kinship-based clans. These pioneers would have followed established trade routes and navigated using the stars, currents, and coastal landmarks. As they arrived in Britain, they encountered a complex landscape of Celtic-speaking communities, some of whom were already familiar with Roman culture, and others who maintained their traditional ways of life. The interactions between these groups would have been multifaceted, ranging from cooperation in trade to conflict and displacement. One of the earliest recorded Anglo-Saxon leaders was a figure named Hengist, who, according to legend, arrived in Britain around 449 CE. Hengist is said to have been invited by the British king Vortigern to help defend his kingdom against the Picts and other Celtic raiders. This alliance would ultimately prove disastrous for the native Britons, as Hengist's contingent of warriors soon turned against their hosts, paving the way for further Anglo-Saxon migrations and the eventual establishment of their own kingdoms. The archaeological record confirms that the mid-5th century saw a significant influx of continental material culture into Britain, including pottery, metalwork, and other artifacts. Sites like Mucking in Essex and West Stow in Suffolk have yielded evidence of early Anglo-Saxon settlements with their characteristic sunken feature buildings and cremation cemeteries. These findings underscore the notion that the Anglo-Saxons were not merely conquerors, but also settlers, who brought with them their language, customs, and traditions, which would eventually merge with those of the native Celtic populations to form a distinct Anglo-Saxon identity. As the Anglo-Saxon settlements expanded, their cultural and linguistic influences began to permeate the indigenous Celtic populations. The process of assimilation was gradual, with both groups interacting and exchanging ideas, customs, and technologies. Archaeological evidence from sites like Spong Hill in Norfolk and Dover Buckland in Kent reveals a mix of continental and native British artifacts, suggesting a degree of cultural fusion. For instance, the discovery of Anglo-Saxon-style brooches and pottery alongside Celtic-inspired metalwork demonstrates the complex dynamics of cultural exchange. One of the most significant factors contributing to the spread of Anglo-Saxon culture was their system of agriculture. The newcomers introduced new farming techniques, such as the use of iron plows and the cultivation of rye, which allowed for more efficient land use and increased crop yields. This, in turn, enabled the growth of larger settlements and the development of more complex social hierarchies. The Anglo-Saxon Chronicle mentions the establishment of various kingdoms, including Kent, Sussex, and Wessex, each with its own distinct characteristics and traditions. The Kingdom of Kent, for example, was one of the earliest and most influential Anglo-Saxon kingdoms. Its strategic location on the southeastern coast of Britain facilitated trade and cultural exchange with the continent, particularly with the Frankish Kingdom of Gaul. The Kentish royal dynasty, which claimed descent from the legendary founder Hengist, played a significant role in shaping the kingdom's institutions and customs. Archaeological finds, such as the famous Kingston brooch, attest to the kingdom's wealth and cultural sophistication. As the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms expanded, they began to interact with other European powers, including the Byzantine Empire and the Frankish kingdom. The exchange of goods, ideas, and diplomats helped to foster a sense of shared identity among the Anglo-Saxon elite, who increasingly saw themselves as part of a broader European cultural landscape. This is evident in the writings of early Anglo-Saxon scholars, such as the 7th century monk and historian Bede, who drew upon continental sources to create a rich and nuanced picture of Anglo-Saxon history and culture. The mid-6th century saw the rise of several prominent Anglo-Saxon leaders, including King Ethelbert of Kent, who played a crucial role in shaping the kingdom's institutions and promoting Christianity. Ethelbert's marriage to the Frankish princess Bertha, a Christian, helped to introduce Christianity to the Anglo-Saxon court, paving the way for the eventual conversion of the English people. The arrival of Christian missionaries, such as Augustine of Canterbury, marked the beginning of a new era in Anglo-Saxon history, one that would be characterized by the gradual assimilation of Christian values and practices into the existing cultural landscape. The spread of Christianity had a profound impact on Anglo-Saxon society, influencing art, literature, and architecture. The construction of churches, monasteries, and other ecclesiastical buildings, such as the famous church at Yeavering in Northumberland, reflects the growing importance of Christianity in Anglo-Saxon life. The use of stone, rather than wood, for building construction also became more widespread during this period, as seen in the ruins of the 7th century church at Brixworth in Northamptonshire. As the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms continued to evolve, they faced numerous challenges, including conflicts with neighboring Celtic kingdoms and the threat of Viking raids from Scandinavia. The Kingdom of Wessex, in particular, would play a crucial role in shaping the future of England, as its rulers navigated the complex web of alliances and rivalries that characterized Anglo-Saxon politics. The legendary King Llywelyn of Wessex, who ruled in the late 6th century, is said to have expanded his kingdom's territories through a series of military campaigns, laying the foundations for Wessex's eventual dominance over other Anglo-Saxon kingdoms. As the Kingdom of Wessex continued to expand its territories under the leadership of King Llywelyn, it faced increasing pressure from neighboring Celtic kingdoms, particularly the Kingdom of Dumnonia, which covered much of present-day Devon and Cornwall. The struggles between these kingdoms were often marked by brutal raids and battles, with both sides seeking to assert their dominance over the region. One notable example of this conflict is the Battle of Diorum, fought in 577, where the Wessex army, led by Llywelyn, defeated the combined forces of the Celtic kingdoms of Dumnonia, Gloucester, and Bristol, securing a significant victory for the Anglo-Saxons. The aftermath of this battle saw the Kingdom of Wessex consolidate its control over the region, with Llywelyn establishing himself as one of the most powerful rulers in Anglo-Saxon England. However, his reign was not without challenges, as he faced opposition from within his own kingdom, particularly from his nephew, Ceol, who would eventually succeed him as king. The complex web of alliances and rivalries that characterized Anglo-Saxon politics is evident in the struggles between Llywelyn and Ceol, with both leaders vying for power and influence within the kingdom. Meanwhile, the spread of Christianity continued to shape the cultural landscape of Anglo-Saxon England, with missionaries such as Augustine of Canterbury playing a key role in promoting the faith among the Anglo-Saxon elite. The establishment of monasteries and churches throughout the kingdom helped to disseminate Christian teachings and values, which gradually began to supplant traditional pagan practices. The monastery at Glastonbury, founded in the 7th century, became a major center of learning and spirituality, attracting scholars and pilgrims from across Europe. As the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms continued to evolve, they also faced external threats, particularly from Viking raids, which began to increase in frequency and intensity during the late 7th and early 8th centuries. The Kingdom of Wessex, under the leadership of King Aine, who ruled from 688 to 726, implemented a series of defensive measures, including the construction of fortifications and the establishment of a powerful navy to counter the Viking threat. Ian's reign also saw significant advances in agriculture, trade, and culture, with the kingdom becoming a major center of commerce and learning. The cultural achievements of the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms during this period are evident in the works of scholars such as Bede, who wrote extensively on history, theology, and science. The Lindisfarne Gospels, an illuminated manuscript produced in the early 8th century, is a testament to the artistic and literary sophistication of Anglo-Saxon culture. The intricate illustrations and ornate calligraphy that adorn the manuscript reflect the influence of Celtic and Mediterranean artistic traditions, which had been introduced to England through trade and cultural exchange. The Kingdom of Mercia, which emerged as a major power during the 8th century, played a significant role in shaping the course of Anglo-Saxon history. Under the leadership of King Offa, who ruled from 757 to 796, Mercia expanded its territories, establishing itself as one of the dominant kingdoms in England. The construction of Offa's Dyke, a massive earthwork that stretches across the border between England and Wales, is a testament to the kingdom's engineering prowess and its desire to assert its dominance over the region. As the Kingdom of Mercia continued to flourish under King Offa's leadership, its influence extended beyond the realm of politics and trade. The kingdom became a hub of learning and culture, attracting scholars and intellectuals from across Europe. One notable example of this is the work of Alcuin of York, a renowned scholar and theologian who was invited to Mercia by King Offa himself. Alcuin's writings on theology, philosophy, and education had a profound impact on the intellectual landscape of Anglo-Saxon England, shaping the course of learning and culture for generations to come. The Kingdom of Mercia's cultural achievements were also reflected in its art and architecture. The construction of the Brixworth Church in Northamptonshire, which dates back to the 8th century, is a testament to the kingdom's engineering prowess and artistic flair. The church's unique blend of Anglo-Saxon and Celtic architectural styles reflects the cultural exchange and diversity that characterized Mercian society during this period. Meanwhile, the Viking raids that had been a persistent threat to Anglo-Saxon England continued to escalate in frequency and intensity. In 793, the Vikings launched a devastating attack on the monastery at Lindisfarne, off the coast of Northumbria, marking the beginning of a new era of Viking expansion in England. The raid on Lindisfarne was followed by a series of attacks on other monasteries and towns along the eastern coast of England, including the monastery at Jarrow, which was sacked in 794. The Kingdom of Mercia, under King Offa's leadership, responded to the Viking threat by strengthening its military defenses and forging alliances with other Anglo-Saxon kingdoms. In 796, King Offa formed an alliance with King Beorhtric of Wessex, which helped to secure Mercia's southern border and provide a united front against the Viking raids. However, despite these efforts, the Vikings continued to pose a significant threat to Anglo-Saxon England, and their attacks would continue to shape the course of English history for centuries to come. As the 9th century dawned, the Kingdom of Mercia faced new challenges and opportunities. The death of King Offa in 796 marked the end of an era, and his successor, King Coenwulf, faced the task of consolidating Mercian power and navigating the complex web of alliances and rivalries that characterized Anglo-Saxon politics. One of Coenwulf's key priorities was to assert Mercia's dominance over the Kingdom of Kent, which had long been a thorn in Mercia's side. In 807, Coenwulf launched a successful campaign against Kent, which resulted in the installation of a Mercian puppet king and cemented Mercia's control over the region. The reign of King Coenwulf also saw significant developments in the realm of religion and culture. The establishment of the bishopric of Lichfield in 799 marked an important milestone in the development of the Anglo-Saxon Church and reflected the growing influence of Christianity in Mercian society. The work of scholars such as Alcuin of York continued to shape the intellectual landscape of Anglo-Saxon England. And the production of illuminated manuscripts, such as the Lichfield Gospels, reflected the high level of artistic and cultural achievement that characterized Mercian society during this period. As the 9th century progressed, the Kingdom of Mercia continued to face challenges from neighboring kingdoms and the ongoing Viking raids. In 810, King Coenwulf launched a campaign against the Kingdom of Wales, which resulted in the imposition of Mercian overlordship and the payment of tribute by the Welsh kings. This expansion of Mercian power was accompanied by the establishment of new bishoprics and monasteries, including the foundation of the monastery at Winchcombe in Gloucestershire. The construction of the church at Brixworth, which had begun during the reign of King Offa, was completed during this period, and its unique blend of Anglo-Saxon and Celtic styles reflects the cultural exchange and diversity that characterized Mercian society. The production of illuminated manuscripts, such as the Lichfield Gospels, continued to flourish, with examples like the Lindisfarne Gospels and the St. Chad Gospels, demonstrating the high level of artistic achievement that characterized Anglo-Saxon England during this period. In 821, King Coenwulf died and was succeeded by his brother, King Sinehelm, who faced significant challenges in maintaining Mercian power and influence. The Viking raids continued to escalate, with attacks on monasteries and towns along the eastern coast of England, including the monastery at Crowland in Lincolnshire. The scholar Alcuin of York continued to play a major role in shaping the intellectual landscape of Anglo-Saxon England, with his writings on theology, philosophy, and education influencing a generation of scholars and intellectuals. The establishment of new schools and libraries, such as the one at Lichfield, helped to promote learning and literacy, and the production of manuscripts like the Vespasian Psalter reflects the high level of cultural achievement that characterized Mercian society during this period. In response, King Beornwulf launched a series of military campaigns against the Vikings, which resulted in some significant victories but ultimately failed to stem the tide of Viking expansion. The reign of King Beornwulf also saw significant developments in the realm of politics and diplomacy. The formation of an alliance with the Kingdom of East Anglia helped to secure Mercia's eastern border and provide a united front against the Viking threat. However, this alliance was short-lived, as the Kingdom of East Anglia was eventually conquered by the Vikings in 869. Despite this setback, King Beornwulf continued to play a major role in shaping the political landscape of Anglo-Saxon England, with his diplomatic efforts helping to promote cooperation and stability among the various kingdoms. In 826, the Kingdom of Wessex launched a campaign against the Kingdom of Mercia, which resulted in the imposition of West Saxon overlordship and the payment of tribute by the Mercian kings. This marked a significant shift in the balance of power in Anglo-Saxon England, as the Kingdom of Wessex began to emerge as the dominant force in southern England. The reign of King Beornwulf came to an end in 826 when he was killed in battle against the Vikings, and he was succeeded by his son, King Ludeca, who faced significant challenges in maintaining Mercian power and influence in the face of Viking expansion and West Saxon dominance. The Kingdom of Mercia continued to struggle against the Viking threat, with attacks on monasteries and towns along the eastern coast of England, including the monastery at Peterborough in Cambridgeshire. The reign of King Ludeca came to an end in 827 when he was killed in battle against the Vikings, and he was succeeded by his cousin King Wiglaf, who faced significant challenges in maintaining Mercian power and influence. However, this alliance was short-lived, as the Kingdom of Wessex eventually conquered the Kingdom of Mercia in 874. Marking the end of Mercian independence and the beginning of West Saxon dominance over much of England. The conquest of Mercia by Wessex in 874 marked a significant turning point in the history of Anglo-Saxon England. King Burgred, who had ruled Mercia since 852, was forced to flee to Rome, where he would eventually die. The West Saxon king, Alfred the Great, installed a new ruler in Mercia, a man named Ceolwulf II, who was likely a puppet king subject to Alfred's authority. This arrangement allowed Alfred to consolidate his power and extend his influence over much of England. As the Viking threat continued to pose a challenge to Anglo-Saxon rule, Alfred implemented a series of military reforms aimed at strengthening Wessex's defenses. He established a network of burhs, or fortified towns, which served as centers of defense and administration. These burhs were strategically located to protect key trade routes and population centers, and they played a crucial role in the eventual defeat of the Vikings. In 878, Alfred faced his greatest challenge yet when a large Viking army, led by the Danish king Guthrum, invaded Wessex. The Vikings had already conquered much of England, and it seemed likely that they would overwhelm Wessex as well. However, Alfred rallied his forces and launched a surprise attack on the Viking army at the Battle of Edington. The West Saxons emerged victorious, and Guthrum was forced to sue for peace. The Treaty of Wedmore, which was signed in 878, marked a significant turning point in the history of Anglo-Saxon England. Under the terms of the treaty, Guthrum agreed to withdraw his army from Wessex and to convert to Christianity. In return, Alfred recognized Guthrum's control over the Danelaw, a region of eastern and northern England that had been conquered by the Vikings. This arrangement allowed for a period of relative peace and stability in England, during which time Alfred was able to implement his military reforms and consolidate his power. Over the next several decades, Alfred's successors continued to strengthen Wessex's position and extend its influence over other parts of England. In 918, Edward the Elder, who was Alfred's son and successor, conquered the Danelaw and incorporated it into the Kingdom of England. This marked a significant milestone in the development of a unified English state, and it paved the way for the eventual rise of a powerful and centralized monarchy. As the 10th century progressed, the Kingdom of England continued to evolve and grow in strength. In 927, Athelstan, who was Edward's son and successor, conquered the Viking Kingdom of York and incorporated it into England. This marked the final stage in the unification of England, and it established the Kingdom of England as a dominant power in Western Europe. The reign of Edgar the Peaceful, who ruled England from 959 to 975, marked a period of significant cultural and economic achievement. During his reign, Edgar encouraged the development of trade and commerce, and he oversaw a major revival of monastic learning and culture. The Benedictine reform, which was introduced during Edgar's reign, had a profound impact on the development of English Christianity, and it helped to establish England as a center of learning and intellectual inquiry. The death of Edgar in 975 marked the beginning of a period of instability and conflict in England. His son, Edward the Martyr, was murdered in 978, and his successor, Ethelred the Unready, faced significant challenges from Viking invaders and internal power struggles. Despite these challenges, Ethelred was able to maintain control over England, and he oversaw a number of significant military campaigns against the Vikings. In 1016, Ethelred's son, Edmund Ironside, succeeded him as king, but his reign was short-lived. He was defeated by the Danish king Canute, who went on to conquer all of England and establish a new ruling dynasty. The Norman conquest of 1066, which was led by William the Conqueror, marked the end of Anglo-Saxon rule in England and the beginning of a new era of French-speaking rulers. However, the legacy of the Anglo-Saxons continued to shape English culture and identity, and their contributions to the development of language, literature, and politics remain an essential part of English heritage. They laid the foundations for a unified English state, forged a distinct cultural identity, and left an indelible mark on the development of Western civilization. The Anglo-Saxon story is one of conquest and conversion, of struggle and resilience, and of the enduring power of human creativity and perseverance. As the ages pass, their impact remains, a testament to the boundless potential of the human spirit. Thank you for joining me throughout this historical journey. That's all for today's History with Herodotus. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, remember that, to understand the present, we must first understand the past.